What if anger isn't the real emotion? What if anger is simply the easiest emotion to show? My name is Omobola Akinde and I'm your happiness advocate. This month is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and today I want to talk about something that many men experience without even realizing it. The difference between what you're feeling and what you're showing. Let me explain. Imagine a man loses his job. The normal reaction, he comes on frustrated, short-tempered, irritable, angry. Everyone around him see anger. That's all they see. But is anger really what he's feeling? Or is he feeling fear also? Fear of paying the bills, fear of about the future. Remember that more often than not, a lot of men's identity have been tied to them being able to provide. So fear about letting his family down. Now imagine a man going through divorce. He also appears angry, bitter, defensive. But underneath that anger is maybe grief, rejection, disappointment, heartbreak. Yes, men do feel heartbreaks too. Again, all some people might see is anger. But anger may not be the real story. One of the interesting things about human emotion is that some emotions are easier for us to express than others. Case in point, anger. And for many men, anger becomes the default emotion. Not because it's the only emotion they feel, but because it's often the safest emotion to show and the easiest to explain. Psychologists sometimes refer to anger as a secondary emotion. A secondary emotion is an emotion that sits on top of another emotion or other emotion. It's the visible emotion. The emotion underneath is often something else. Sometimes it is hurt, shame, embarrassment, fear, sadness, disappointment. You can name it all. The challenge is that if you only focus on the anger, you never get the real issue. It's a little bit like saying smoke and ignoring the fire. The smoke gets your attention. Yes, right. But the fire is the real problem. This is where emotional intelligence becomes important. Emotional intelligence is not about being emotional. It's about being aware of your own emotions. It's about being emotionally aware. It's about being able to ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? And how am I feeling in regards to other people? What am I showing? What am I feeling? Because those two things are not always the same. What you might be feeling, it might be different from what you are showing. Far few people can identify disappointment, but a lot of people will identify anger. Few people identify insecurity, grief, or loneliness. Yet, the more accurately we can identify our emotions, the better we can to respond accurately to it or to them. Research in psychology has shown that simply naming an emotion can reduce intensity. Think about that. The moment you leave from saying, I feel bad, to saying, I feel rejected, or I feel disappointment, or I feel anxious, you have already taken steps towards understanding yourself. And understanding is the beginning of emotional regulation. Because if you are not effectively able to name the emotion, you will not be able to effectively regulate it. This is one of the reasons why emotional vocabulary matters. If the only emotional words you know are anger, fine, stress, tired, then your understanding of yourselves becomes very limited. But when you learn to recognize a wider range of emotion, you gain more insight into your experience. You become more self-aware. Your self-awareness is one of the foundations of mental health. Yes. I often tell people that emotions are not the problem to be solved. They are signals to be understood. I say that again. Emotions are not problems to be solved. They are signals to be understood. Every emotion is trying to tell you something. Fear tells you to pay attention. Sadness tells you something matters. Disappointment tells you an expectation wasn't met. Grief tells you that you've just experienced loss. The goal is not to eliminate emotions. The goal is to learn from them. Because emotions ignored often becomes emotions repeated. And yes, emotions understood become sources of wisdom. So today I want to leave you with something, a simple challenge. Simple. Yes, the next time you feel angry, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what else am I feeling? What's underneath this? What emotion is hiding behind the anger? You might be surprised by what you discover. You might be surprised. And that's the beginning of great emotional well-being. My name is Omobola Akinde, and I'm your happiness advocate. If this conversation resonated with you, please subscribe and share with someone who may benefit from this. And remember, the more accurately you understand your emotions, the more wisely you can respond to them. Until next time, choose happiness. I'll see you in the next one.